Andy, I know you've never been happier than when you're sitting by a warm fire, snuggled up in a flannel and basking in the glow of an old-school budget spreadsheet.
It is a special day I can shut down the world for a little me time.
In a world full of applications, why do these antiquated documents and spreadsheets still run the world? And why haven't they been updated in over 50 years? That's why we want to talk about Coda.
Coda is a new kind of doc that brings words, data, and teams together. It comes with a set of building blocks that anyone can combine to create a doc as powerful as an app.
Coda runs our entire business here at True Story FM, from show scheduling across dozens of podcasts and scripts for thousands of episodes, to budgets and plans and wikis and more.
Coda lets us see our business in a new light. If you'd like to shine a light on productivity in your business and save money along the way, check out Coda today at thenextreel.com/Coda. It's hard to believe that we've been having in-depth weekly conversations about movies since 2011.
So many great conversations over the years about so many great movies. All that said, producing this show week after week requires a ton of work behind the scenes.
Becoming a Next Reel member gives you access to all sorts of additional and exclusive content. Plus, you're helping us keep the lights on. Just head to thenextreel.com/membership, where you can learn more about becoming a member, which costs a measly $5 a month, practically the same as one fancy coffee drink. And you get so much more.
Every month, we record a bonus episode exclusively for members. Those episodes cover movies from whatever series we're covering at the moment, or add to previous series.
Some movies we've covered that only members get to hear us discuss include The Blues Brothers,
The Russia House,
Naked Lunch,
Independence Day,
The Hot Rock,
and Relic, the better one. Plus, members get to vote on what we're going to discuss for those episodes.
We also record additional pre- and post-show content in regular episodes that only members get to hear,
like conversations about similarly themed movies.
And answering listener questions from our live member chat.
Speaking of our live member chat, we record almost all of our episodes in Discord, where members can chat right along with us live.
Members get access to other members-only channels in our Discord community as well. On top of all that, members get all episodes a full week earlier than everyone else in a private Next Reel feed just for them that includes all the shows in the Next Reel family. The Next Reel, the Film Board,
movies we like, Sitting in the Dark, and more new projects on the way.
To top it all off, members don't have to listen to ads. We've already eliminated those annoying, dynamically inserted ads that, let's face it, we all hated.
We are listening to you.
We love podcasting for a living, and those ads help to pay the bills. Now, we're counting on you, dear listener.
We promise we aren't going back to those terrible, dynamically inserted ads that don't relate to us at all. All we ask is that you consider supporting the Next Reel family of podcasts with a membership.
Again, it's $5 per month or $55 per year. Just head to thenextreel.com/membership.
thenextreel.com/membership. Get your access to early, ad-free episodes with bonus content, member bonus episodes, and access to member channels and live streams in Discord by signing up today. Hey everybody, it's Pete, and this is a special edition of Behind the Sights, a long overdue return to one of my favorite series on our show. I'm a massive fan of the tech that runs the industry, and that includes the sites and apps that we use to learn about the movies and shows of which we call ourselves fans. That's what this series is all about, and I'm so excited to get back to it with our guest today. Casey Liss is a podcaster, developer, and writer from Richmond, Virginia, though these days it's hard to know which order to put those things. He's 1/3 of the Accidental Tech podcast, a must-listen for principled nerds, and half of Analog. But he's here today to talk about his latest app, Callsheet, an experience that screams, what if IMDb was written by someone who really cared? Now, as a movie lover, you probably understand how big a statement that is. It's the equivalent of thinking, hey, I think I'd like to invent something to take on aspirin, or maybe I could be the next Kleenex. Who knew there was such a thing as big entertainment database, right up there with Big Pharma and Big Tobacco? And still, that's where Casey lives, in a modest corner of the app ecosystem, working diligently on an app that aims to do right by movie nerds everywhere. Casey, absolutely thrilled to have you here.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much. You're hired as my official PR person from now on, because that is so much better than anything I have written. Well done, sir. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that. Let's talk about movies and television, because I would like to try over the course of our conversation to somehow tie your love of entertainment to why you decided to take on Big IMDb.
Yeah, so I don't know. So I do a podcast with a guy by the name of John Syracusa. He is one third of the Accidental Tech Podcast, ATP. The other host is a guy, Marco Arment. And Marco and I have gotten this reputation that we've never seen any movies ever, which is, I think, slightly founded, but a little bit overblown. Nevertheless, I enjoy a movie. I enjoy television shows. I enjoy garbage movies and garbage television, and I enjoy good movies and good television and everything in between. And a few months ago, it was around January, I think, I was sitting, downstairs in the living room watching TV. I wish I could tell you what I was watching. It was probably filth. And so I was watching TV with my wife, and I wanted to look up, who was an actor in this movie or who directed it or whatever the case may be. And, I'm sitting on my phone and I go to the IMDb app, the Internet Movie Database app. And it is a challenging experience using the IMDb app these days. If you're not a film professional anyway, my understanding is there's, an IMDb Pro where maybe it's better and maybe they're not constantly asking you to log in every 14 freaking seconds. Mm-hmm. But for a regular consumer, it is not fun. And it occurred to me that a couple of things are true. Number one, there's a crowdsourced equivalent mostly to IMDb called the Movie Database, which conveniently actually also handles TV shows. And I know how to write code. So maybe I could fix these problems. And so I started down the path in, I think, mid-January, maybe it was late January, of writing what would IMDb look like if I wrote it and if I wrote it for me. Mm-hmm. And what would that look like? How would it behave? How would it act? And what would be kind of the clever things behind it? And I started working on what was then called Flookup, which my wife and children still make fun of me for. The idea was a portmanteau of film lookup. Naturally,
no, Casey, we got it.
It's bad. I'll be the first to tell you, not good. The only reason that my children don't have terrible names is because I'm married to a wonderful person who actually has taste. But anyways, so I started working on Flookup. And eventually what landed a few weeks ago as we record this, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago now, is an app that I'm now calling Callsheet, which for those in the industry, you're probably even more aware than I what that means. But it seemed like a fun and clever name for something that maybe would ring a few bells if you're even an enthusiast. And it starts with the letter C. And given that my name does too, I kind of like the letter C. And so in early August, I released Callsheet. And I think it's pretty good. I think it's not so bad, and I like it a lot. And I'm hopeful that you and your listeners like it too.
Well, I'll tell you, I am a paying listener or user of Callsheet. I really do like Callsheet a lot. But I want to step back a little bit to your experience with IMDb, because I spent some time this morning looking at IMDb reviews, and they are a mix of people who really don't like the quote, I wish IMDb would stop letting idiots post trivia. That's a thing. There are people who review their favorite movies in the App Store for the app. That's big. So, and there are people who genuinely seem to like IMDb. And I don't know if those people and I are using the same app, frankly, right? I have my own set of concerns with IMDb, but I'm curious about yours. Where do you start with IMDb in the development process, peeling it back to get to something that you love?
Yeah. So the IMDb app, I think the problem with it, well, there's many, but the core of the problem with the IMDb app, from my perspective, is that it is an app that started as a really phenomenally good and well-researched website and web service. And then Amazon bought it, and then Cruft started creeping in. And then there was more Cruft and more Cruft and more Cruft and more Cruft. Hey, would you like to buy this? Hey, watch a trailer. Hey, would you log in? Would you like to watch a trailer? Would you like to log in? Hey, this is on Amazon Prime. Oh my gosh. And it's just,
it's noisy.
Noisy is the perfect word for it. It's extremely noisy. And it was not fun to use. And whether or not, you find Callsheet to be fun, the idea behind Callsheet is, if nothing else, it lets you accomplish what you're trying to accomplish quickly and easily without getting in your way. And The movie database, which is the crowdsourced back end that I'm using, it is not as robust as IMDb, but it's pretty good, especially for modern stuff. You go reaching back to the 50s or something like that, and the movie database is eh. But for modern stuff, it's really good. And more than anything else, the movie database is impossibly, indescribably fast, which means my app, Callsheet, is also, I like to think, pretty darn fast. And you'd be surprised how quickly you can go tapping around within Callsheet and end up with exactly what you're looking for. And then on top of that, if you're reinventing the wheel, you get to do kind of fun and off the wall things. And one of the things that I really was proud of is there are some affordances. So if you're looking at a movie, typically the way Callsheet presents it is there'll be like a poster, and then beside it there'll be some basic information about it, rating, user score, runtime, things like that. And so it occurred to me late in the development process, well, if I know that this movie is 2.5 hours, but I'm an old man and so I want to go to bed in 2 hours, well, when is this movie going to end? And so you can tap on the duration, and it'll say, the 2-hour movie is going to end at 1:30 in the morning. And I can know, well, that's not going to work for me.
Right.
And so silly affordances like that, I think, add up and make for a pleasurable experience. But then you can go quite a bit further. And I tell this story frequently because it's such a clarifying moment in my life, even though I didn't realize it at the time. But I was watching I think it was late 2019 miniseries Watchmen, which is a phenomenal, incredible series. I cannot recommend it enough. And with no spoilers, but there are a couple of characters in Watchmen that have secret identities. And I remember vividly that I didn't recognize one of the members of the cast. I had never seen their work before. And so I went to IMDb, as everyone does, and I went looking for, okay, which character is it? And I saw, and again, no spoilers, but I saw, John Smith / Superman. Well,
Right.
I didn't know that yet.
Yeah.
I didn't know. You can't tell me that I didn't know. And so I got real upset. This is like late 2019. Well, as I'm sitting there and writing Flookup / Callsheet, it occurred to me, I can do something about this so nobody has the pain that I felt. And so what I've done, and one of my favorite features of Callsheet, is that you can optionally, for TV shows, you can select certain pieces of data that I will obscure, hide, so that you don't get to see it. So you can choose, for example, to obscure character names. You can choose to obscure episode titles or thumbnails. You can also
how many episodes.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because there's been occurrences and occasions where I've been like, oh, I love, this Susie Smith character. She's the best. And I look about 2 episodes.
Yeah. Right.
Well, crap. I wasn't prepared for that. That's the whole reason I'm here for the show, or whatever the case may be. And so stuff like that, when you are writing from scratch and trying to take what is a relatively solved problem, but try to put your own little spin on it, you get to do fun things like that. And I like to think that Callsheet does a pretty good job of trying to have these affordances and give the user the tools that they need in order to not only find what they want and find it quickly, and then honestly get out of the app. I'm not one of those that's like trying to get you to log in or try to buy this or try to do that. The best case scenario for Callsheet is you quickly find what you want and then you put it away and get back to the movie or TV that you're watching. And that's the goal. And so you can do all of these things and put your own spin on it and hopefully give people enough of a reason to actually pay money for this. Callsheet, as we sit here today, it's $1 a month or $9 a year. And I don't think that's a lot of money at all. And I think for a way better experience than IMDb, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I think the app builds the case for that, and I think it's a fair trade. And I'll just say, you can sign up you can open the app and you get free searches, 20 free searches. That's still accurate. 20 free searches. Right. And there's a wonderful search history, right? It's another thing that is not obscure. The challenge that I have with IMDb, which I think Callsheet nails, is that the action reward equation is clear, right? Like, I know on IMDb there are times when I'm swiping down the phone app and I see something that looks relevant, and my head says the reward will be what you think it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And I tap on it and it's a trailer for an unrelated movie, or it's an unrelated ad, or it's something like that. Yep. They introduce a trick between the action and the reward. And that there is none of that in Callsheet. And as a result, it's very, very, very fast. Questions about your choice of data source. And I don't know the background on what it takes to use IMDb's data source. and your choice of using the movie database. I know, Letterboxd,
Mhm.
Letterboxd
Right.
uses, and I should say they're a frequent a partner of the Next Reel and advertisers with us, and so we're fans of Letterboxd. They use the movie database,
Mhm.
and some in our community have said the lack of currency in the movie database, as fast as the data set is something that keeps them slogging through IMDb, because sometimes the movies they want to see are not there and they
Yeah.
can't make the connection easily to Letterboxd and get the movies in. That did that weigh into any of your thinking going into developing this app?
Yes and no. To be completely honest with you, I didn't think IMDb had an API that was publicly available. And it, coincidentally, as I was, familiarizing myself with your work, I was listening to the episode with, was it Matt Buchanan, I believe,
Yeah,
of
right.
of Letterboxd, and Matt had said, "Oh yeah, we looked at IMDb and it was $10,000+ a month or something like that." And I was
So
like, "Well,
that decision is
that's
actually,
easy,
answered. Yeah,
and so that's kind of a cop out, to be honest with you, because I didn't know that at the time. But
yeah,
my thought process was, you know, IMDb is there to serve its masters, which is either IMDb itself or is Amazon. And
yeah.
that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but that means someone like me will be small to nothing potatoes, if you will.
Mhm.
I'm not going to register on their radar. And I genuinely don't know if the movie database has any idea who I am, but it is far more likely that I would get a response from the movie database than I would IMDb. And as it turns out, when I was very early in this process, I reached out because you have to apply to get something called an API key, which
Mhm.
basically is a token that gives you permission to use their site. And very early on in the process, I reached out and I asked, I filled out a form, said I'd like an API key, and I might get this name wrong, but I believe it's Travis Bell wrote back to me, and I didn't think anything of it. Well, fast forward a couple of months, and I'm later on in development, and I forget how I came upon it, but I come to realize that Travis is the CEO of the movie database.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's the guy, but I think he's one of very few people that is there. And coincidentally, the movie database, I learned very late in development, you'll never guess who owns the movie database because they have a corporate sponsor / owner. Who do you think that might be?
That's interesting. That's an interesting question. I don't know.
What is
It's not Amazon, right?
No, no, no,
That
no.
would
That
be
would be hilarious.
a horror story.
Think of a company that you can't believe still exists anymore and is in the media landscape, but you can't believe it
You're
exists
not going to
anymore.
say Yahoo, are you?
No, but you're getting warmer. It's
Okay.
they sell physical pieces of hardware.
Boop beep, boop beep. What's the name of the
TiVo,
company? TiVo.
they own the movie database.
Oh my God, should I be more afraid about the stability of
I
the
know,
movie
right?
database now,
It's fair.
Casey?
It's totally fair. And actually, when I found that out, I was like, "Oh, what have I just signed up for?"
Yeah.
But no, I think from talking to people, like I have some friends that also write apps, different apps for different purposes that also
Mhm.
use the movie database. And from everything I've understood from their interactions with the movie database and other peers, it costs almost nothing for them to run it. And so, yes, if TiVo suddenly folds, I'm probably going to have a problem. But all things considered, of all the things that would get cut, it does not seem like the movie database is high on that list. But yeah, I had no idea that TiVo, well, I kind of knew TiVo existed because my co-host, who also calls it Letterboxd, John Syracuse, he is a TiVo devotee. And so he might be single-handedly keeping TiVo and thus Callsheet afloat at this point.
Yeah, for sure. I hear he uses them as furniture now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Pretty much. You brought up the $10,000 API
Mhm.
access cost at IMDb. We are in an era where it seems like every few weeks we're hearing news of yet another service manipulating the cost structure of API access. Now, it sounds like you feel very confident in your relationship with the movie database, but how much is that keeping you awake at night for an app that you're charging $9 a year for?
Yeah. So a few months ago, I guess pre Elon Musk taking over Twitter, I mean X, I mean whatever. Before all that happened, I wouldn't have thought twice about it because I'm sure we're all working together here. Everyone's friendly. It's all fine. After having lived through that, it gives me a little bit of worry, but that's why I'm charging. I mean, it's a large part of the reason. Obviously, I'd like to be able to eat, but a large part of the reason that I'm charging money for Callsheet is because I want to try to be set up such that if costs go up reasonably, not to the way Twitter or Reddit did it, but if they go up reasonably, then I can float that on behalf of my users until the time comes that I can raise prices or whatever the case may be. Obviously, I don't hope to do any of those things. I hope that our relationship between users and myself stays exactly the way it is. I hope my relationship with the movie database stays the way it is, or if anything, that we get more cooperative. But that's part of the reason why I'm charging what I consider to be a very fair price for this app, so that this way, if it gets passed down to me, I'm in a position that I can either just float it, like I said, like float it forever, or I can float it until the time comes that I can raise prices. Because that's what that's what zapped, the Apollo app for Reddit, which was a truly phenomenal iPhone app. But Reddit said, hey, we want a whole pile of money and we want it now. And that's just untenable. And granted, the movie database could do that, but in all of my interactions with peers that use it, with the movie database people themselves, like Travis, never did I get even an inkling that they would go that route, short of some sort of major catastrophe. So you never know, and it is a risk, but no risk, no reward, right? So, I'm just trying to do my best by me and my users and hope that it all works out.
You brought up some features that I love, and the tapping on the runtime to see when it ends. That is an echo of my single favorite Apple TV feature, which is tap on the remote glass without clicking the button and see when the now playing thing is going to end.
Yep.
I absolutely adore that. There are a number of those features that in the initial release of the app, you made discoverable by accident. And I'm curious the thinking that goes into your head around what features to expose quite explicitly and what features it feels like you were saving to release on Mastodon.
That's not the case, but I can totally understand why you would say that. So the thing about there's a few things at play. Number one, I am at best faking my way through being a designer. I am a pretty decent developer. On a good day, I am a mediocre designer. Now, I had a lot of help from a friend of mine, Ben McCarthy, and they were able to provide a lot of helpful feedback. But I think to me, it comes back to what I said, I think at the beginning of the program, that this is an app for me. And I put front and center the data that I think is important. Things like, rating, as in, PG, PG-13, whatever, runtime, things like that. Sometimes I get enough, I was going to say outcry, but that's too negative. I get enough requests from users that I'll put something else on there. So as an example, what I call score, which is really kind of a rating, but that's a loaded term when it comes to movies. The score, so, think Rotten Tomatoes, but it's actually sourced from the movie database. The score I put front and center because I just got pummeled with requests about it when I was doing my beta period. I could not possibly care less what randos on the internet think about a movie, but apparently a lot of people genuinely care. And so I put the score on there. And that became front and center. And that was not for me. That was for my users. But generally speaking, the stuff that you see, and especially the stuff that's like above the fold, if you will, that's the stuff that I care about. And while I think it would be nice to have a end time front and center, just visible right as soon as you open a page or a screen, I don't know that that's a useful use of real estate on an iPhone, which is, even the big iPhones are not that big, and I only have but so much space to play with. And so it's trying to find a balance. And I mean, I would argue it's an engineering problem. You're trying to find the balance between how much data do you provide front and center lickety split versus how much do you have that's admittedly kind of hidden. And I could make an argument that, this isn't really there because you can't tell it's there. Like this whole end time thing, you can't tell it's there just by looking at the screen. So it's effectively not there at all.
I think many of your first reviewers made that argument.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. Now, a couple things about that specifically is that, I think that kind of makes it a little more fun because now you're kind of tapping around on things to see if there's any like hidden secrets or surprises. But number two, as we sit here, it's late August of 2023. iOS 17 is the new version of the iPhone operating system that's coming out next month. And one of the things that will be in that new operating system is something called TipKit, which is a series of tools that I can use as a developer that put really tasteful overlays on the screen. And it can say, tap here to see when the movie ends. And it does a very good job of not bombarding you. Nobody wants to open an app and that you have to swipe through 6 onboarding screens in order to get to what you want. Like, nobody wants that. And in fact, one of the things I'm very proud of with Callsheet is that when you first install it, it runs. There's no location services prompt because I don't care where you are. There's
Mhm.
no like local networking prompt because I'm not currently doing anything with your local network. It just immediately works. You don't have to sign up for anything. I assume you're going to use some of your 20 free searches. You just get it to work. And so TipKit will let me still maintain that it just works as soon as you start it. But also, have you thought about tapping here to see what's behind it or whatever the case may be? So again, it's an engineering trade-off, right? I'm not sure I made the right choice here, but having something that's easy to parse and clutter-free was my number one priority. And so I would rather trade discoverability in favor, a poor discoverability in favor of having a clutter-free experience. I don't know if that's
Well,
a satisfying answer, but that's kind of what it comes down to.
Well, it is satisfying. I don't want to come off just like only a booster for Callsheet, but I'm really a booster for Callsheet because I think you actually nailed the in words the thing that I feel when I tap around on it, especially after discovering
Mhm.
that runtime bit. You're absolutely right about calling out my behavior. I tap on stuff
Right.
more now that I don't know because it is a little bit of a game,
Mhm.
right? Am I going to find Zelda behind this next tap? Like I don't know.
Not yet,
And
not yet.
it's sort of it's a really lovely sort of frivolity that
Yeah.
comes with it with what otherwise is a very simple user interface. There's nothing spinning, no stars that shine whenever
Right.
I do it. Like I'm at this point, all of our community lives in Discord, and now they have super reactions where if you react on something, things blow up. I'm like, come on,
Yep.
I just want to say smile.
Right.
So that goes to sort of the next question. In an environment where, let's just say, Letterboxd exists,
Mhm.
where users not only can use it to find this sort of information, but also use it as diarists themselves, right? Able to track more than just pinning things, able to track their history of films
Mhm.
that they've watched, and notably not very much television,
Yeah.
right? It's premier kind of streamers that show up. Um, a- how do you position the future of Callsheet? Do you exist at all to compete in that space?
It's a very good question, a very fair question. I am not in a position to comment on any future plans because I'm taking a page out of Apple's playbook. But let me just say, I would be an idiot not to at least explore that. So
Okay.
that is on the agenda. Near term stuff is not that. I feel like the pinning affordance, which is exactly what you would expect. You can pin something, it would show up right at the top of the main screen, and that gives you quick access to, say, a TV series that you're watching. But yeah, there's a lot of different apps that do a genuinely great job of being a like diary or wish list of media or something like that. And I think it would not be terribly difficult for them to eat my lunch. And so I don't view it necessarily as a race, but I think certainly the next big thing I'm looking to conquer once I get through something else, which we can talk about if you're interested in a second. But once I get through this next phase, the next big thing I want to conquer is at least exploring having some sort of like watch list or watch history, and I guess watch list in terms of a wish list and watch list in terms of what have I already done in the past. And I think it makes sense to at the very least explore it. I don't want to make any promises, but sitting here now, as much as I snarked a moment ago, like that is my intention, is to at least start going down that path and seeing if it makes sense for my app. And another approach to this, by the way, and something that is on the to-do list, although I can't decide where it is Letterboxd integration. Like I've exchanged a couple of emails with a couple of the folks there, and they seem like, certainly based on your interview with Matt, like they seem like genuinely great people. And I'm not looking to get into a competition with them. And if my users are all in on Letterboxd, then it's in my best interest to provide a way for them to integrate with Callsheet. And again, I'm not there yet. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but it's on the to-do list, because the thing of it is that with Callsheet and with all the work I do, I don't always succeed, but I try really, really, really hard to just show that I give a crap.
Mhm.
And if my users can tell that I give a crap, then they know that I'm taking care of them. And then this relationship becomes very mutual and very, mutually assured and with mutual respect. And so the growth hacking like mindset is, oh, heck no, I'm not integrating with Letterboxd. No, I'm going to do that myself. I'm going to keep them in my app. And honestly, I don't feel that way. Like in my world, the best thing that Callsheet can be I mean, the best thing is a one-stop shop, but if it's not that, then it's a tool in your tool chest. And I don't view it as like, some sort of antagonistic thing with
Mhm.
my peers, especially Letterboxd, who I have an incredible respect for. I would love to at some point integrate, have you been able to log into your Letterboxd account via Callsheet? And again, we've had very, very, very brief conversations, their team and me. But eventually, yeah, I would like to. Sorry, this is a very meandering answer to your question, but I would eventually like to have that sort of affordance for watch lists and things like that in Callsheet one day.
Well, and that gets to, I think, what is reason to celebrate and maybe a privilege of the independent developer
Mm.
to be so aware of the ecosystem and
Yeah.
so frankly chill about that sort of competition, right?
Yeah.
Or co-opetition.
Yeah.
Uh, someone like Amazon comes to Casey Liss and says, "I'm going to give you $55 million and you're going to give us Callsheet and
Mhm.
thank you, goodbye. See you in the tropics."
Yep.
Is that a thing that you're gunning for?
No.
Would you like to see that?
I'd love $55 million. Hell yeah. But no, I'm not gunning for it. I mean, I don't think that Amazon would ever come knocking on my door in some hypothetical world where I'm getting millions of dollars. Sure, let's talk. But in any reasonable expectation, that's never going to happen. And so, I view Callsheet as if I can keep this as a component of my profession for the next few years, that would be excellent. And being independent, in a lot of ways, lets me do stuff that other people wouldn't do. And some of that is just making choices that people wouldn't make. But some of that is that I can move quickly. And granted, it is just me, but
Mm-hmm.
especially with the way Apple technologies are, you can move pretty fast if you want to. And so what I was alluding to a moment ago is something I've been working on over the last week or so. I use an app called Channels, and I believe the website is getchannels.com. And
Right.
Channels, I'm not going to do a whole long song and dance, but Channels is sort of kind of like an alternative to TiVo. It can let you watch TV anywhere. It can let you record TV, and so on and so forth. And so, I actually know one of the founders of Channels. He lives here in Richmond, and it occurred to me, wow, wouldn't it be neat if you're watching Channels? Because that's how I watch TV. I use the Channels app on my Apple TV. If you're watching Channels, wouldn't it be cool if whatever you had on screen on your Apple TV, if it showed up at the top of Callsheet, so you could just tap it and there you are? And in beta
That
right
would
now,
be cool.
in beta right now is that integration. So if you're watching something on Channels, now admittedly it's just that one app, but if you're watching something on Channels, it will the phone will go and ask your local network, hey, is there any Channels device nearby? And they will reply, yeah, here I am, and here's what I'm watching. And so then right there at the top of the screen, it will show, a poster and the title of what you're watching on Channels. And then I've been working with my friend John, one of the founders, and over time, it's going to get better and better, because right now when you tap on something, it just does a search for the title, which is good, but not as good as it should be, right? And so we've been working together to figure out, okay, what data can he provide me so that when you tap on that, rather than going and getting a search, you're going directly to that movie or that TV show or what have you within Callsheet. And so that's not something Amazon will ever do. And I get to do it because it's for me and I want it. And similarly, if I feel like Channels is all my ephemeral content and I use a thing called Plex for all my long-term content. And so this morning, I might be going bald from it, but I've been working on trying to get the same sort of affordance with Plex. Now, Plex is a much older product. It's a much clunkier interface. It's a pain in a lot of ways, but I'm trying to get to the point that if you're watching something on Plex, there it is right there on Callsheet, ready and waiting. And if I get enough requests for other things like Jellyfin and MB, I've heard some people ask for, I'll do those too. And it's stuff like that I don't ever see IMDb doing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just their priorities are here and my priorities are there. And, we'll see what users want. I don't mean that in a threatening way. It's just maybe users aren't interested in $1 a month or $9 a year. Maybe they do want to suffer through ads and trailers that they're not interested in. And if that's the case, power to you. If I'm not fixing a problem that you have, then that's fine. But if I am fixing a problem that you have, then yeah, let's talk, man.
Let's talk about, you have a mobile app. Do
Mhm.
you have a completely mobile app in the future or a strictly iOS mobile app?
How do you, like, in terms of iPad?
in terms of Android?
Oh God, no! Oh no,
Okay.
no. I just don't have any interest in it, and if I don't have interest in it, I'm not going to do it.
Again, the privilege of an independent developer.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, I would do it, but I just don't see myself having the time anytime soon. And candidly, although I've made money so far from Callsheet, I have not made like farm out an Android version to someone else kind of money. After this recording, when everyone signs up and
Yes,
gets a
maybe this will
subscription,
be it.
at that point, that'll do it. But no, sitting here now, I would love to, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
You since you mentioned iPad, and I'll throw in Apple Silicon Macs.
Mm-hmm.
When do I get it on my big screen?
Well, so the iPad app is okay right now. I candidly, I spent almost no time on it because I've had so many other what I consider to be more important things to do. Very soon, in the next couple of weeks, I plan to sit down and properly rejigger the iPad app so it looks a lot better. At the point in which I'm not actively embarrassed by the iPad app, then I'll flick the switch for the Mac version to turn on. It's funny because to me, if I'm sitting at a Mac, I'll just go to the movie database. I'll just go right there and look things up there. And the movie database website is not exactly what I'd want, but it's good. It's fast. It's fine. But a lot of people, surprising amount of people have said, hey, I would love to run this on my Mac. And again, currently it's turned off, but hopefully in the next month, maybe two, the iPad app will be not an embarrassment. And then at that point, I'll flip it on for the Macs.
Well, because that's what I want, right? I want as long as I'm going to the trouble of pinning my activity
That's
in
fair.
Callsheet, I want my pinned activity on the desktop. I spend so much time staring at my monitor.
That's a really good justification for it. Yeah, that's very fair.
I live to serve, man. I live to serve. You know what? I have more questions for you, but I don't want to belabor the folks who just came to talk about or to hear about Callsheet and behind the sites. So I would very much like to end the show now, but tease for members if you want the member version. I'm about to ask Casey more questions about Plex because I don't know anybody besides maybe me who I have heard tell have been so meticulous about media organization. And I feel like our members need to hear just a little bit firsthand what that's like to live in Casey Liss's head. So I will say,
scary is what it is.
I will say for right now, Casey, thank you so much for teaching us a little bit about Callsheet. Where do you want to send them?
Yeah, actually, I'm totally a professional. I should have prepared for this question. I'm pretty sure callsheetapp.com works. I'm pretty darn sure. But I'll stall for time. Worst case, if not, or certainly you can go to CaseyLiss.com, and there right at the header, there's an apps entry, and you can find it on there. And then
Callsheetapp.com's work.
Okay, good. Yeah, see, I totally planned it that way.
Totally nailed it.
Totally nailed it.
This.
See, the thing is, Pete, is that I've spent so much time on the app itself. I didn't have a lot of time for the website. That's where we're going with. But yeah, callsheetapp.com. You can find my podcast with my beloved co-hosts John Syracuse and Marco Arment at atp.fm. And you had mentioned Analog, which is very kind of you. That's kind of a feeling show. That's the best elevator pitch I can give you for it very, very quickly. That's at relay.fm/analog, spelled the proper way or spelled the British way. It's your choice.
Well played. Thank you, Casey Liss. Definitely swipe up in the show notes. You can get all of those links. They are there and they are ready for a click in.
Yes, please.
Check out this app. I've got some widgets on my home screen, I have to tell you, so I don't have
I know it's on the list. It's on the list.
No. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that I already take up a lot of space with widgets on my home screen. Callsheet is still a home screen app.
I love you.
It's too fast not to put on the home screen. So,
well, I love you.
Appreciate this, Casey, and we will hopefully catch up with you down the road. Good luck
please.
With that.
Thank you.
I love the conversations that so many of our hosts have had on their shows. Steve and JJ on Trailer Rewind, Ray and Ocean on Silver Linings, even Tommy's short-lived Wait, Hear Me Out.
So many listeners want to make sure they've watched the movie before tuning in to any discussion on our podcasts. Well, the best way to watch the movie is to look it up on our watch page.
Our watch page lists all the movies that we have discussed on all the shows from the Next Reels family of podcasts, including the one you're listening to right now. It's your one-stop shop for Apple and Amazon links where you can rent or buy the movie.
Trailer Rewind movies like Raw,
The Nice Guys,
The Peanut Butter Falcon,
or Free Fire.
No, Wait, Hear Me Out movies like Josie and the Pussycats or Return of the Living Dead.
Or Silver Linings movies like Repo Men, Daredevil, and The Wolfman.
Plus, by using those links to rent or purchase movies, Apple and Amazon will show us a little bit of love, which allows you to support our family of shows with minimal effort.
It's a great way to support the show and find something to watch.
That's right. Head over to thenextreel.com/watch to pick out your next movie and start watching today.